BREW Wednesday 42, another one notched on the old post. Well, today we're going to do the BREW Wednesday and the video response to the brewed palate. So we'll get that bit out of the way first, so Basil, the brewed palate, can chop the video up and use the segment as he so pleases. Well, to start with, my real name is Clive, based here in the UK in the county of Norfolk, on the east coast of the UK. I've been brewing since I was about 14-15 years old. I first started back then with just a basic fermenting bin, a siphon hose, one of those hand cappers that you hit with a hammer to cap the bottles, and that was it. No hydrometers, no siphon pipes, was the only thing with a little tap on the end, and no airlock. The bin never had an airlock, it was just a push down, leave a little piece cracked open for it to vent. There was no brewing sugar, there was no homebrew shops, no internet. The only high street store was Boots the Chemist, which is a high street store in the UK. It was the only place you could get homebrew supplies from. Unfortunately, my sister worked there, and she got staff discount and got the cheap tinted tins of concentrate. So somehow I ended up getting a kit bought me and a barrel, and I started making my own beer for me, my mum and my dad. And as far as I can remember, the first one went brilliant. I think we ended up using lemonade with that one. I sort of brewed 3 or 4 more others, got a bit older, started going sports and social club at my dad's place where he worked, so you know, I was drinking beers, and 16 came around, I was wanging my way into pubs and bars and getting served, so you know, the homebrewing sort of slid away and the gear got packed away in the garage loft. Years later I get married and it just got moved over to here, and about 3 years ago I started working at a beer shop in the UK, and that sort of got my interest going again. So I kept thinking about it. 2 years ago I think I put my first brew back on. I got my old stuff out, I cleaned it all, I cleaned all my old bottles, and thought about some new equipment, started looking online, wanted some new ideas about brewing. So I thought, well, I've used YouTube for other things, why not see if anyone's brewing beer on there? And sure enough there was, and like most people I found Craig too. Obviously he didn't get me into brewing, but I sort of looked at him, I started looking at other guys, I found out about SJ Paul, the BREW Wednesday community, and I didn't have a camera, and I don't really know entirely what made me decide to go out and buy a camera and have a shot at making a fool of myself in front of hundreds of thousands of people that can watch a video on YouTube. But I did, and I don't care. We have fun. I brew anything and everything: kits, cider, wine, make my own cider, brew my own beer. I've progressed onto all grain. I've got half a dozen fermenters now, more bottles than I care to count. 10-gallon brew pot, 5-gallon brew pot, a 3-gallon brew pot, gas propane burner, mash tun, the works, everything I need. Mainly it's pushed me to doing that through YouTube and through the BREW Wednesday community. I've learnt things, I've passed things on that I know, I've put instructional videos up, I've put a lot of information the guys' ways to save money buying equipment, and I've been casting now since about February, the beginning of this year. As I said, it's now BREW Wednesday 42. I think I've got about 70 videos up or thereabouts, and that's it, Barry. I think that's all you need, mate. Right, well, I'll fizzle this bit out with the old scissors on the editing software, or maybe I won't. Anyway, let's come back to BREW Wednesday. What have I been doing this week? Well, I've just bottled the winter ale kit. It's never bothered me bottling before, but today was a bit of hassle. I decided to bottle via a bottling bucket and add the sugar to that and transfer the beer into a bottling bucket, rather than prime the bottles individually. So I've washed 40 bottles and got 38 filled bottles at the 19 litres, so the yield was pretty good. I didn't lose much to the trub, but it was just the aggravation of washing everything out again, because I have to store my bottles in the shed, so obviously they need cleaning again to get the dust and bugs and things that have fallen into them. But it's done now. 2 weeks time I can start enjoying it. Didn't come out quite as high as I was expecting. This come out at about 5%. I was hoping for 5.5, 6. In part, obviously, I put an extra litre in, so that's thinned it down a bit. We had a cold snap this week. We had, at the time, had no heating in the house, so the temps did drop down to about 16.7, 16.5 degrees in this room. So that sort of slowed the yeast right down, although that was sort of the latter part of the week, so most of the work had already been done. But I got my heater plate out and put that to the side of it, because I'm not entirely trusting of these. This is the big one, you can fit 4 demi-johns on, or a 30 litre brew bin. It works, but obviously there's no control over the heat. There's no thermostat on these. I suppose you could wire an STC type controller onto the brew bin, put the sensor on the bin, do it that way. But fortunately I've got my central heating finally going after 2 years. It's bloody hot. I can't stand it, it's too hot. Too hot. Not being in the pyjamas. Anyway, what we got to tell you this week? Well, I made the trip to Aldi's. I picked up 680 grams of Morello cherries, although they do actually give the weight if you drain them as 350 kilos would be handy. 350 grams drained. Got 2 of those, $1.49 a piece. I've got the old Morrison ones which don't seem to be stocked anymore, which is a slightly smaller jar of Morello cherries. Brain fart time. So we've pretty much got enough fruit to crack on with a Krieg. Not going to be a sour one, obviously. I'm not messing about with a lambic yeast just to do a gallon batch, but we'll have a crack with some of those malts, see what else has come out. The experimental ales done and bottled. If I hadn't got one of Sean's beers to review, I would show you one on cam. They are nice and clear now, and the name of the beer will be Bov Ale, which could possibly give you a clue as to what the contents is. If you're in the UK, I was try and save some there. I did try, my wife likes them. I'm not so keen on the stuff I put in anyway, but it was just one of those for shits and giggles things. It's drinkable. Still tastes a little bit cidery, I think, as I used that malt extract. So whether it is something in that Holland and Barrett malt extract, because that's now the second batch I've done, although admittedly the other one was far too sugared, which will make a drink cidery. There was a little note, I mean it's had another 2 weeks in the bottle, so it might have improved. Not lots of head, but I'm not surprised at that, being as it's an extract brew and an extract ingredient. I did pick up, actually last Wednesday, I film on my Tuesdays, so this turned up. A big straw. Attached to that, we have a sight glass. Chap was selling them on the eBay, and I had to look at his listings, and he'd also listed these on a bid start rather than a buy it now for 16 quid. Me being me, I priced up the components and the postage to get the components, and there was no way I could beat 16 quid plus £3.40 postage to buy all the parts to do it. I mean, the tubing's about 6 or 7 quid, 8 quid, depending on if you go half inch. This is quarter inch. And a quarter inch fitting, it's not half inch fitting, because I was hoping I got the T-piece, because I put the thermometer in the end, but obviously the thermo welds are half inch BSB, and this won't be because it's smaller, but not worry, because obviously the plan is to fit this to the other BREW boiler, the catering boiler I've got, which the second one I picked up, if you remember, the one with the pleasant wiring on the plug, the tap is cut quite a bit lower on that one, so I'm going to, assuming it didn't cost a lot of money, convert that one and put the sight glass in with the purchase, says he. I can get the bloody things, they're all just flicked out, but you do get a little set of stickers to do your increments. That starts off at 5 and goes to 30, I think. You can do it in well, litres I suppose really, or pints. And then you get the little catch at the top there, just so you can secure it at the top of your HLT. Obviously you can trim it to height. This one comes, I think it's 500mm. It's less than 20 quid, so that will be going on the HLT, so I know when I'm doing a batch I can work out how much water I've took out of the HLT and how much is going in the mash tun, because at present I have to basically transfer it into a measuring jug if I'm, got to do 12 litres in the batch, and then sort of sparge with another 20 litres. I've got to keep doing it with a jug, so I know how much water I've put through. So that was this week's little bargain. That and the cherries. The mead's still sitting there quietly. I think it's pretty much played out. I don't know whether the low temperatures is starting to clear a little bit. It's still pushing gas against the water in the airlock, so there's a little bit of activity there. Obviously we've got the beer. Let's do Sean the brewing shed beer. We'll do the hoppy cider. I don't know whether you want me to do the Uncle Jonah 1 kit challenge beer until you boys have started doing the judging, or or what. You'll have to let us know, Sean. I don't care. If you don't care, I'll do it. Or I can leave it a few weeks, it doesn't matter to me. Oh, it's got a good hiss. We've got some hoppy cider. My ciders are all finished, they're in the boxes. I'll try and save a few for beer mails. I've got this first batch done, so I want to try and get another couple of batches in before Christmas. We're ready to build the stocks up and send you guys out some beer mails, hopefully. Depending on what happens work-wise. Smells nice. And so what hop you got in there? 7%. It's just what I need after all that aggro, bending down, filling them bloody bottles. Oh, she's sharp. Given the a fruit note, not apples, but there is citrus fruit, so I'm presuming you used a citrusy hop in it. Obviously it's cloudy from the hop. Obviously it doesn't really matter with the cider. And a bubble just went in me bloody eye. Very citrusy. It's got that, it's like grapefruit notes to it. It would be a bit like the mixed grapefruit juice that you get in the cordial. It's not too dry. One of mine is fairly dry. because it did ferment out, but I don't mind a sort of a light medium dry or sweet cider. Shit, if it's alcohol I'll drink it. But touches the mark, is what I can say. Yeah, it's definitely a grapefruit bitterness, which is obviously coming off the hop. So you'll have to tell us what hop you used on that. It's nice and refreshing. Has been a nice sunny day today, though obviously we're too far away from that glowing globe in the sky to benefit from any warmth now. Had the first few frosts. Gas wise, obviously, you know, last week I got the propane delivered on the Sunday. Now the guy, I found him via the internet. He's local, he's literally less than 5 miles away, but he does a bit of everything. He does red diesel delivered, he'll do small batch orders, kerosene, there's propane gas, patio gas, basically all the flow gas products, propane and butane. There's firewood, coal, everything. He's into a bit of anything and everything. He's got other small businesses on his site, and I did mention to him about CO2, which is conveniently something he's looking at going into. I did have a sort of lengthy chat with him over the phone, because obviously I weld as well. I've got a MIG welder, so you use CO2 or argon, CO2 mix or pure argon, and obviously CO2 for pub gas, which is what a lot of MIG welder boys, if they've got an accommodating landlord that will swap a bottle out. Unfortunately I don't go frequent pubs, so I don't have that luxury with a landlord. But he's looking at doing them. So I said, well, there is like Adams Gas, I think, which are based in Essex. They do, there's a local agent in Lynn, primarily obviously for welding, but the bottle's 70 quid down, and I think it's 25 quid a refill. Obviously you've got to shell out 70 quid for this bottle in test, however long it is, 5 years I think. So what happens after the 5 years, whether you, because you're exchanging cylinders, they're updated, or you have to shell out again after 5 years on the agreement, or what, I don't know. So I said that is you know, an off-putter, if particularly, say like for me or someone who'd got multiple kegs. You want more than one bottle. You want a bottle as a backup, so when runs out you can rotate them. For me, I would probably, you know, like 2 bottles for the brew system, and obviously 1 bottle for my welder. Second bottle can be used either for welding if I run out, or the dispensing. Obviously that would involve quite a bit of outlay at 70 quid a pop for the bottles. Some of the companies I looked at 150. Some are no deposit, but there's none round here. So he's fairly keen on getting something organised, so I did express obviously there is a market for the welders and the home brewing market. So I suggested that obviously for the welding side you got argon mix and CO2. CO2 can be used for the home brewers, obviously the hydroponics guys. He's been asked by a number of people in the wet trade, in the publican trade, about supplying gas for pubs, because obviously they're not finding it particularly easy or expensive themselves for the free independent free houses. So it's something he's obviously, there's a market there for him, so he's looking in at doing it. I don't know what company he's approached. It's not Adams. He said his cylinders will be non-deposit, so that's handy. Having said that, I mean, he had an agreement with Flow Gas, because normally you have to pay for your deposit on your gas bottle if it's not one you're exchanging. I had one of their old ones and changed it out, but I've still got it here. He wasn't bothered, didn't have to pay a deposit for that cylinder. So I said, well, yeah, you know, definitely CO2, food grade CO2 for pub dispensing and the homebrew market. CO2 nitrogen mix, and possibly nitrogen as well if people with the stouts and things on tap. So don't know what time frame he's thinking of before he'll start doing it. But he was fairly keen. He wanted even me to go around and sort of put him in the picture with the homebrew trade. So if you are in my area, i.e. West Norfolk, Kings Lynn, he'll deliver within a 20-mile radius, so you're getting up to sort of Spalding, possibly Boston, I don't know how far, because he's a little bit further out than me. So obviously part of the east coast around Heacham, Hunstanton. Probably not as far as Fakenham, but in that sort of area, if you imagine a 20-mile circle around my area. So there must be a few of us homebrewers out there, probably not all on YouTube admittedly, but if you are in the East Anglian, Cambridgeshire, Lincolnshire area, let me know, because I can let him know that there is a market for homebrewers. So hopefully I've got one well, not a Cornelius keg, but the same thing as a Corny keg, an AEB keg, which is made in Italy, is basically a modern retail. You can go and buy them for 100 quid, brand spanking new, or you can pay £70–80 for a second-hand Corny on eBay at the minute. There was 3 local to me, but they ended when I'm at work. The postage on them was horrendous, it was 17 quid each, which I think is why they didn't make over 40 quid a piece. But also I like to bid on things and be there at the time rather than just hit, you know, 40 quid and walk away, and if it goes 41 you lose it. But yeah, I would like another 1 or 2 kegs if I can get gas on a regular term, because I would like to build a bar as well. I have got a couple of pub taps, but I don't know obviously what condition they're in. So that's way away. So you know, I have a couple of taps on the bar if I can find some for a Norfolk hillbilly price. Or just go to a pub at 3 o'clock in the morning with a set of screwdrivers. Oh no, I wouldn't do that. Right, well I think that's it guys, I've updated you. So there might be gas in West Norfolk. Got cherries for the Krieg, I've got raspberry for a framboose. I've got my cider, the mead's done, beer's bottled. Time for a snack. Catch you next week.